luck that will work today. It did not work last week, but I'm hopeful that it will work today. So welcome all on this Sunday morning to this service. Today's service is going to be a little different from our usual service, not just because we're online, but because we really wanted to embrace the idea of science fiction today and the fact that in many ways what our services are like right now is a little science fiction-y, right? So this is going to be a little bit more of a playful service. This is also the first service where I have ever used video in a service. So I really appreciate your patience with me and with us this morning. So I'm the Reverend Caitlin Cotter Coilberg, minister of this congregation. And for this service, I am joined today by Worship Associate Kate Jordan and by a couple of our tech people. And we've got videos and stuff from all sorts of people. Actually, I think I'm starting to get some sort of incoming message right now. Let me see if I can find some sort of incoming message. Oh, I think, just a second, let me.
Enterprise, if you get this message, this is Commander Mills of the Science Expedition.
Yes, Commander Mills.
I regret to tell you that the wormhole has collapsed almost completely on this side.
Oh no.
I was barely able to receive your message. I hope you have received this reply. The shuttlecraft has lost power. While I am all right, I am in a part of the universe inhabited by a species called the As One for All. They have agreed to take me in. They have welcomed me. They are an interesting species as far as I can tell. They celebrate diversity. They have a deep reverence for reason and logic and for heartfelt love, as they describe themselves.
Sounds like
there's clearly much to observe here. I will continue my scientific observations. I will send my report back by subspace messaging. It should arrive in about 100 years. Commander Mills out.
So as you can see, some of my colleagues got very excited when I mentioned in a group that we were going to be doing a science fiction service. And so you'll be seeing little transmissions from my colleagues in outer space throughout this service. And again, beg your patience as we do that. Before we get started today, I just wanted to make a few announcements. First of all, we are experiencing another spam phishing is what it's called. So it's a scam artist who's pretending to be me, sending out emails asking for gift cards. Please remember, I will never send you an email asking for a gift card. I will never text you or call you asking you for a gift card. That is not how we connect donations here. That is how the scam artists are scamming Unitarian Universalist congregations. They are using my photo and they're getting more and more like sounding like me, which is a little creepy. So just be careful and cautious out there, folks. You may receive such an email. If you do, please let me know. Please also report that email to Google and to the relevant authorities. Other announcements, we are doing a You and Me series, and that will be meeting this afternoon. So our own Neil Chakravarty is doing that, which is very exciting. I got to be there last week, and it was so cool hearing what people had to share. I know it's a long day of Zoom to do that as well in the afternoon, but it's well worth your time. And I want to announce that on Tuesdays, we're still doing our lunch with our minister. I'm hoping to add a few more events. So you may have gotten an email with a poll, and if you would fill that out, that'll help me, give me an idea of what other things y'all might like to be doing right now online with me. So with that said, I want to offer us a time of greeting, and we're doing this a little differently right now. We're writing in the chat box the answer to a question. And so the first question I want to ask you this week, since we're doing a little bit of a fun service, I want to know, what did you do that was fun this week? Did you do anything that was fun? It was okay if you didn't do anything that was fun, but if you did do something, could you write your answer in the chat box on Zoom so that I can see what you did this week? This is the way that we are saying hello to each other, is by typing in the chat box. So you should see Kate just wrote that. Very cool. So Neil made a video showing Jenna cooking and working with Jalen. Awesome. It's so cool what so many kids are doing. And everyone, did anyone cook anything exciting this week? I know that's how a lot of people are having fun. Everyone's sold out of flour everywhere because everyone's baking. Amazing. Yeah, crafts, getting out to Kanawha State Forest, walks and car rides. Fantastic. This is how we have fun safely these days. Play ukulele. Awesome. Fabulous. There's so many things going on. So many birds to see, so many puddles to play in, pottery to work on, hiking, meals from special restaurants, sitting on the deck, playing with your cat. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, happy birthday, Deborah. Yay. And happy birthday, Neil. So many great things happening. So we are going to move into our time of chalice lighting. And I'm going to share a screen of my colleague lighting a chalice, and I'm going to light our chalice at the same time. So this is a very fancy chalice lighting we've got for you today.
I don't know.
Uh-oh, there we go.
This is Captain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Captain Amanda Poppy of the Starship Washington Ethical Society. We light our chalice in honor of the flames of many planets, the fire of many stars, coming together across the miles, from planet to planet and congregation to congregation. We light this flame of truth, beauty, and justice. May the flame burn bright on your starship today.
May the flame burn bright on all of our starships today. And I invite you to join me in our first hymn.
Though you've broken your vows, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, whoever you are.
That beautiful audio came to us from Abby Tennis and the good folks of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Philadelphia. And for our Time for All Ages today, I have for you a video from my past self. So let's see if we can make that work.
Hello. Hello, I hope you're able to hear me. I can't quite hear you. Wait, I've got some headphones here. Let's see if that's much better. Now I can hear you. Great. Got my headphones on. I have a story for you today that's part of a story that spans generations, right? It spans time, and it's a story that's been repeated in some ways over and over throughout history. There's this one particular moment that I think is particularly special. So I don't know that it happened this way, but I do know that it's true, that long ago and far away, long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? There was an evil empire led by men who seemed to care about nothing except for more power and destroying anyone who opposed them. And against them were a small group of rebels, but they weren't really a small group, were they? Because they were connected by so many others throughout this system who were supporting them in all of these small ways. But there was this one particular group in this story that I think are particularly important to think about. It was
Oh dear, we're having some technical difficulties there. Was that video working for you all? Yes, okay, we're gonna see. Give me just 1 second. Technical difficulties.
oh,
Again, appreciate your patience. Give me just 1 second, and I think we can get that back up again. There we go.
hello. Hello, I hope you're able to hear me. I can't quite hear you. Wait, I've got some headphones here. Let's see if that's much better. Now I can hear you. Great. Got my headphones on. I have a story for you today that's part of a story that spans generations, right? It spans time, and it's a story that's been repeated in some ways over and over throughout history. There's this one particular moment that I think is particularly special. So I don't know that it happened this way, but I do know that it's true, that long ago and far away, long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? There was an evil empire led by men who seemed to care about nothing except for more power and destroying anyone who opposed them. And against them were a small group of rebels, but they weren't really a small group, were they? Because they were connected by so many others throughout this system who were supporting them in all of these small ways. But there was this one particular group in this story that I think are particularly important to think about. It was a group of people who you wouldn't think would come together, right? One of them was a princess, who would later be a general. One of them was a farm boy who just was really good at flying, I guess. And one of them was a space pirate, essentially, right? But these people came together in this one crucial moment when it seemed like everything was falling apart, like the empire was finally just going to have its way, like all of the good things that people had been building for generations were falling apart. This group of people came together right at this moment right at this moment when destruction seemed imminent. First, they had to rescue the princess who'd been taken captive. Then they had to fight their way out of this bad situation, and they ended up on this one rebel base, on this one moon, with this huge destructive thing coming towards them, the Death Star, right? And then there's this moment where they breathe deeply and they trust each other and their skills, and they win the day. And this is a story that gets repeated over and over. On Earth, we have this anthropologist, Margaret Mead, who talks about, never doubt that a small group of dedicated people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. It's a famous quote, right? And we've seen that story over and over. We see it over and over in this galaxy far, far away. There's betrayal, and then there's victory, and there's hope again and again and again. And that's why I love that song so much. Come, come, whoever you are. Right? Because it reminds us that we make mistakes, we come together again. That if we trust in each other, we trust in ourselves, that if we practice hope, if we assure ourselves again and again, ours is no caravan of despair, that we can get through even the most devastating of times. So long as we still have each other, even if we're separated, as long as we have each other, we can travel through. Even though we have broken our vows. It's one of the things I love in this story, not just in that first little bit, but over and over again, there's this moment where it seems like someone has betrayed you, and then they're reconnected by love. Even that big villainous character, the one who wears the big coal shovel over his head and really deep, right? The big villain of the story turns out to be connected to our princess and our farm boy by love, and in the end, love wins. So in this, what sometimes may feel like our most desperate hour, it is important to remember that the future is not set. That even when it seems like the will of the empire is about to come out, is about to destroy, everything, that if you trust in your people, even the scruffy-looking nerf herders, the space pirates, you can prevail against incredible odds. That with courage and commitment, we can come together across the differences, across distances, across generations. We can choose each other again and again. And that's what makes our communities so powerful. That we are no caravan of despair, that we practice hope and solidarity and love in action. That we come, yet again we come together even across the distance, because together we create new hope. I love you.
And we have a music video on the subject of space pirates as well. So there's another little video for you in our stream of videos in today's service. This other transmission I received from deep space Unitarian Universalism.
Hi, my name is Dan Schatz. I'm the minister of the Unitarian congregation in Westchester, Pennsylvania. When Caitlin asked about music for a science fiction service, I immediately thought of an old family friend and wonderful songwriter and folk singer named Jonathan Eberhardt. Jonathan was also the space exploration editor for Science News. When the idea of a solar sail was invented, this extendable mylar arm that could power a spaceship, power a probe, using only the power of the sun, Jonathan was fascinated. And he figured that if there were such a thing as a solar sail, then there could also be a solar privateer. He wrote this song, which ended up on the cover of Science magazine. A racehorse ever champed a bit like a solar privateer, to make flank speed on the sunlight's push is like to take a year. But when you're out with the stars set bright, 'tis a sight to make you cry. No blast nor flames to rattle your brains, a seagull in the sky. On a big freight line you can make out fine, breaking orbit furled up tight. With a hotbox booster on your tail you can make escape alright. But the privateer knows the dead man's here on a drift of vis-a-vis, with naught to do but sleep and stew till the sunbeam sets you free. It's when you're out on the dark and deep can the solar sailor smile. No cold blocks, tanks, or reactor bangs, just mylar by the mile. No stormy blast to rattle the mast, a sober wind and true, just fall and tack and ball the jack like the water lovers do. It's a long road out and a long road back, drifting on the sun, where lovers there will all row long, a pining for your fun. Still looking upward to the sky, they'll know you've ceased to roam. A golden spark in the endless dark, the light has brought you home. A golden spark in the endless dark, the light has brought you home.
Good morning, everybody. Today, I'm going to share a little reflection with you about our science fiction adventure here. And when I started brainstorming for this writing, I just simply started collecting quotes from various famous sci-fi authors. And at first, I had one direction, and as it goes, when you're a writer, you think you're going to write one thing, and then it kind of goes another direction, and maybe it comes back around. But some of those quotes that I found were very appropriate for what is happening at this time in our history. So I was going to share a couple of those with you to begin with. One of them from Ray Bradbury, which is, you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture, just get people to stop reading. Makes you think about something. Also, Jules Verne said, science, my lad, is made up of mistakes, but they are mistakes which is useful to make because they lead little by little to truth. And then also back to Ray Bradbury, I kind of saved this one for last because I think it hits home and makes you think about something, which is what the rest of my reflection is about here, is that we need not be alone. We need not really be bothered once in a while. How long is it since you were really bothered about something important, about something real? Science fiction truly is a brilliant genre. As a literature teacher and one who just simply loves books, I've exposed myself to lots of different types of writing for my own interests and for the benefit of teaching it to others. I didn't exactly discover sci-fi until later on in my reading adventures. If I recall, my interest began with fantasy novels, and there is always the crossover bit. Later on in junior high and high school was the exposure to the dystopian genre that often dips its fingers into the science fiction realm. Dystopia has always been and always will be my favorite. I appreciate the space adventure genre, but have never really been a big Trekkie or Star Wars fan. I enjoy the tech side of sci-fi, the themes of AI and high-tech computers, wormholes and tesseracts, things that tiptoe on the fine line of fantasy and reality. Science fiction is spooky for that reason. It's also why I enjoy reading it. It most certainly is a genre that has the capacity to inspire and move one's soul. The quotes I shared with you, you can't hear some of those lines and not be provoked to think. Sci-fi can ignite a certain type of flame in the mind. A Wrinkle in Time always fascinated me, but reading it as an adult made me wildly interested in learning more about dimensions, string theory, and some really weird physics stuff that was way over my head. Artificial intelligence is a crazy topic, and reading about it in science fiction stories also made me curious to just simply know more about it. Science fiction pushes you to think. It pushes one to consider a different point of view, a different world. It is almost within the grasp of human reach. Almost. Black holes and time travel, we can almost do it. It is a genre of writing and film and storytelling that is wise and intelligent. It requires some work sometimes. Oftentimes its message is bleak, but it also has this amazing capacity to be marvelously hilarious. As Arthur C. Clarke notes, clearly, how inappropriate to call this planet Earth when clearly it is ocean. And all that hilarity, just like its tragedies, the stories always end with you thinking, wondering. Yes, they can inspire and teach, and like many stories, they leave us something. Even Don't Forget Your Towel has significant meaning and logical reasoning, and such a silly, fun, random thing for author to throw into his vision of the future. Science fiction lets us imagine. It can give us a new lens to look through to our existence. I'm going to share with you a little piece of my favorite bit of science fiction. And as I do so, consider, what fears do you have? What are you afraid of today? I have found this litany, written in Frank Herbert's story Dune, has always soothed my fears. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fears and permit it to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
This leads us to our second check-in question. Thank you, Kate. So folks, what are you afraid of today? What fears are you facing? If you would type in the chat box, think for a minute and type in the chat box, what are you afraid of today? What fears are you facing? And I'm going to give you a minute just to breathe into that question. I spotlight our chalice cam here. Uncertainty, yeah. Right, fears about employment, about providing for our families, that we won't move forward from this. Fears, yes, for the people in our concentration camps at our borders, that they may get sick and hungry, and just uncertainty. There's a lot right now weighing on our hearts and spirits. Now I invite you, I have another, fear of making mistakes, for sure. I know we've all kind of got that, what I've started referring to as pandemic brain, right? That anxiety, that general anxiety that we're all feeling collectively. It impacts our thought process. It makes it harder to think clearly. So I wanted to offer you another piece of science fiction thinking from another UU minister.
Hi, I'm Amy Zucker Morgenstern. I'm a colleague of Caitlin's and another sci-fi fan. This is a sentence from The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. Love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. The book deals with making worlds in times of disaster, just like we are right now in a chaotic world that's largely beyond our control. And we don't really know how to make the world that we want to make. We don't have the foreknowledge. We don't always have the wisdom. We don't know if we have the power. And when we do have power, we don't really know if we're using it the right way. And this book speaks to all of those things. And I feel like this line is our guide, saying, remember what love is. Love is something we make. It's not just a happy accident. It's something that we must create if we are to create the worlds that we want to, whether they're in our oh so small homes right now, or in our wider community of our congregation, or out in the whole nation and the world. Have a great Sunday.
So, as we sit here this morning in uncertainty, with all these fears and worries, I invite us to breathe together for a moment, to settle into a moment of meditation. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth as you can, perhaps resting your feet on the floor or your hands in your lap. I invite you to pause here with a moment, holding in your heart all of our fears and worries out in the world and in our congregation. That hold that within you, and I invite you, as you hold it into the practice of Tonglen, to let your inner self transform it. So I invite you to breathe in, let yourself feel that fear and uncertainty, and then let your being be like a filtration system, like a spiritual filtration system, if you would. Let it sift out, and I invite you to breathe out love. Love is something that we make, something that we do, something that we practice. There's so much to be afraid of right now, to be angry at, and we know those emotions ultimately don't serve us, that we can't avoid them, but we need to transform them into loving action. So I invite you just to breathe with me in the quiet for a moment with our chalice, breathing in all that you're feeling and breathing out more love into your space. As I light our candle for COVID-19, I invite you to raise your hands in blessing as I read these words. So just raise your hands up above your computer screen like you're sending this blessing out into the world. And keep breathing. Don't stop breathing, please. We light this candle in honor of all those working on the front lines, in hospitals, nursing homes, grocery stores, gas stations, and beyond. We light this candle to send our love to all those grieving alone. We light this candle in recognition of those dying in isolation, especially those we know and those who are loved by those we know. We light this candle in recognition of the enormity of this pandemic's impact on each of us, on those we love, on everyone, and even more so on those already challenged by poverty, racism, transphobia, ableism, mental illness and disability, xenophobia, those who are already suffering in our prison industrial complex, and especially in our country's concentration camps. We light this candle in grief, in honor, in recognition, in love. We are in this together. And at this time, I invite you to join me in our hymn and our hymn Meditation on Breathing. Which I don't seem to have a slide for somehow. So I'm just going to invite you to sing along with me, and I am not Hannah, but I invite you to sing along with me there in your room. So we start with just breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, and I can see you, so I know you're not singing. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out love when I breathe in. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And breathing in and breathing out, we move into the next part of our service, into our offertory moment. And Kate, I invite you to unmute yourself and lead us in our chalice, and introduce our offering.
And this is a time in our service when normally we would pass plates or ask you to, or people would be rummaging in their handbags for maybe a couple dollars or a checkbook. But right now, we're simply asking for any kind of donation that you might like to make to Universal Unitarian Charleston, West Virginia.org, as noted on your screen. Anything that you may manage, generosity is always appreciated. So again, if you look at your screen, donate to our congregation to support the work that we do for you. Keep our lights on, keep us giving you services and bringing you happiness, leadership, knowledge. We thank you for your support.
This is Dan Schatz from the Unitarian Congregation of Westchester, Pennsylvania. One of the things that I love about science fiction is that it lifts us from our personal perspectives and allows us to see ourselves from different points of view. Jonathan Eberhardt wrote this song from the point of view of the planet Mars. It's called Lament for a Red Planet. 10,000 times, 100,000 dusty years ago, now extends the plain of cold. Did once my river flow, to stroke this unholy place. So many stars bedeck my skies when once there were but few. But oh, again to know the clouds that hid them from my view. My ochred cliffs and rusted sands stand regal and serene. But oh, my wan and wasted world, I miss your blue and green. tomorrow has a starting, as does yesterday and end. The water of my ocean and the air that was my wind, from mountain rocks and wintry wastes, I pray may flow again. My ochred cliffs and rusted sands stand regal and serene. Oh, my wan and wasted world, I miss your blue and green.
And now I invite you to join us in our unison affirmation as posted. Oh, in just a moment. There we go. As posted there on your screen. Love is the spirit of our faith, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
All right, so I've gotten one more transmission from space that I want to share with you. Here, this one's, I think, in a little bit of a lighter mood. Here we go.
Oh, brilliant. It's so good to see you. Me, I'm the doctor. I know things look dire, but if I've learned anything about you humans, it's that you have infinite capacity for goodness. Now, I know what you're thinking, but you're in just one possible future. It's one timeline. You want me to tell you everything's going to be okay? 'Cause I can't. The future is not fixed. It depends on billions of decisions and actions and people stepping up. Humans, I think you forget how powerful you are. Lives change worlds. People can save planets. Be the best of humanity.
I love that little video my colleague Reverend Kimberly sent there, partly because I love what an overachiever she is, that she was determined to do it with a Yorkshire accent, which, let me just tell you, not easy. So one of the things she says there is the 13th Doctor I find particularly powerful, meaningful. This idea that humanity is capable of incredible goodness. And I love this because it's one of the main ideas of the Doctor Who show, which is this children's science fiction show from Great Britain. But it's also the core of our Unitarian Universalist humanist tradition, this belief that people can create good, can be good, and can do amazing, wonderful, good things. And the future is not set. These two ideas, the future is not set, and we can do amazing things, are at the center of our history as Unitarians and Universalists in this country. We have been rebelling against that Calvinist doctrine of predestination and inherent sinfulness for a long, long time. Preaching acceptance, preaching possibility. We are a tradition that looks into the future and sees possibility. This is extra important as a practice right now, because we are living in a future time, right? Like, we are always moving into the future, but right now that feels more intense. It feels a little like we're living one of those dystopian novels that Kate loves so much, right? The status quo is shaken, is broken apart, and now we are entering a deciding moment. And that's one of the things, we think about post-apocalyptic. Apocalypse in the classical sense doesn't mean the end times, it means a time of transformation. And it leaves us with this question: will we try to reassemble what was before, ignoring the things about the old systems that didn't work or caused harm or only served some of us? Or will we look into the future with intention and care and imagination? And that we there, I feel really strongly, is something that we're all considering as individuals and as a community, as a congregation, as a town, and so far beyond that. What will humanity do? What will we do? Each of us. Because both of these possibilities have been imagined. You only have to glance at the science fiction section of the library or the ebook section of the Kanawha County online library system to see this everywhere, this warning, this possibility. This is what I love about science fiction, that it offers us both warnings and positive possibilities. We cast our imaginations into the future, not just because we believe scientists and want to prevent catastrophes, but because we know that it makes a difference to imagine that things can get better. And that we can use our imaginations to get through our times. One piece of advice I've seen going around the internet comes from someone who had been trapped in her house by circumstance before. I don't remember what health event caused her to need to stay in her house. I think she might have been recovering from a surgery, but there she was in her house, stuck, like so many of us are now. It wasn't safe to go out, and nothing was easy. She says she got through that time by imagining she was on a spaceship, by pretending that she was on a spaceship. I love that. Because first, it's important to let ourselves have fun in safe and healthy ways. And playing pretend is a classic way to do that. Playing pretend is so important. That's why I'm going to spend the afternoon playing Dungeons and Dragons over the internet with some other ministers, including Reverend Kimberly, actually. And second, I love the spaceship pretending because that's a way of creating a story, a narrative about a difficult situation that gives meaning to what you are going through, right? To say to yourself, I'm getting by in a dangerous time with my small crew of fellow adventurers. That's a story that helps one remember how much difference courage and commitment make. And third, I like this because putting yourself into a story of adventure connects you to other stories of adventure, right? It reminds us that we aren't alone. I've been thinking about this with the pandemic, of course, and I've been thinking about it with parenting too, since I have that 3-month-old. So many people have parented before me, are parenting right now in similar situations to the one I'm in. I draw from their wisdom, and I draw from the wisdom of our imaginations, from the imaginations of those who've come before me. I have this great little book. It may be backwards for you, but it's Geek's Guide to Parenting, this funny little book I picked up at an independent bookstore in the before times when we could go to bookstores, that draws lessons about parenting from different geeky fandoms. So one of my favorites is about the show Firefly. And what I like about that science fiction show, it only got 1 season, but everyone thought it was amazing. And that one of the amazing things about it is that it wasn't a show about saving the day, but getting by as best you can in desperate times, about finding joy in the small things, grieving what you need to, and taking care of each other. There's this great moment about getting through with the character Zoe and a friend of hers. Her friend says, when you can't run, you crawl. And when you can't crawl, and then Zoe chimes in, you find someone to carry you. When you can't run, you crawl. And when you can't crawl, you find someone to carry you. Now, I love that partly because our abilities change over time, right? Not all of us can run or even crawl. Sometimes we need help. Certainly my son can't run or crawl yet. We pick him up and put him places. And eventually, I hope that he will grow old enough to have that problem again. And I love this because this is what we do in community. We care for each other. We encourage and support and ask for help when we need it. I like that this show is about people surviving in the margin after losing a war, because we don't always win. And sometimes it matters that we keep going, keep doing love and action, keep imagining a world, society, a nation, a galaxy that prizes empathy and compassion over profit and competition. And I love that the show reminds us that in desperate times, it is okay if all you are doing is getting through to tomorrow. If a good day is one in which you are still here, still metaphorically flying. Another book I've been thinking about, like Kate and a lot of others, I think, is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Which I have the complete works here because I'm that kind of geek. This was some of the first science fiction I ever read, and this book, this story by the late great Douglas Adams, holds up what my colleague Reverend Todd Strickland refers to as the silver rule. Because we all know the golden rule, right? That do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they would have done unto them, because we all have different preferences and experiences and needs. But he holds up the silver rule, and he says that the silver rule is don't panic. Don't panic, he says, is a rule that we see across traditions in time and space, and it's particularly useful for hard times. I like this book, this series of books, because a lot of the answers in it are nonsense, and the questions, it turns out, are what the characters are really seeking. As a Unitarian Universalist, I'm so interested in questions. We have this principle about seeking with a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We're looking for the questions sometimes more than the answers. And I love it because the protagonist of these books and the movie finds himself in apocalyptic situations wearing not some cool spacey outfit, right, but a bathrobe, clutching a towel and with only his sandwich making skills to see him through. I like that because I've seen so many jokes. I did not expect my apocalypse outfit to be a bathrobe. Well, Douglas Adams expected that, right? And I like the silver rule that my colleague proposes as the core of these books, because it reminds us not to despair, to keep using our compassion and imagination and empathy, even in situations that are unfathomable and dismal and overwhelming. Even when it turns out that the answer to the life, the universe, and everything is 42. Because the life and the universe and everything isn't a good question. Because if we already know the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42, then we can pause to question other things. Like, what will everyone have for lunch? And how do we make sure everyone has enough masks? And do you know where your towel is? You don't need a cool, spacey outfit to get through this future moment, even if you do have fun dressing up. It's great to have some fun dressing up. It is okay if you are getting through in your bathrobe, breathing through the panic moments and using your sandwich making skills. I am glad that you are still here. I hope you are having fun sometimes, and it is okay if you are not having fun. I hope you are taking care, especially when you are off on away missions outside your spaceship. I hope when things don't go as you expected or hoped, that you are able to be sad. Able to be sad and able to remember all the heroes of the stories you love who found themselves in sad and difficult situations. Your story is not done. We are creating our story together, today and tomorrow and into the future. And together we can do amazing things. Together on our blue boat home, together in community. So at this time, I'm going to invite you to sing along to this hymn, Blue Boat Home. So, dear ones, fellow travelers, I hope as you go into this week, you will find some stories to connect with, whether in the news, some stories of courage and compassion out there in the world, or whether in a book or a movie that you love. I hope you will find these reminders that we are capable of so much good, so much courage and compassion and empathy, that a small group of dedicated people can change the course of history. I hope you will remember, beloveds, you are enough, just exactly as you are, and you are not alone.
There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days. There will be better days.
Let the wave wash over me.
So, beloveds, the song on this last slide doesn't seem to be working. We are going to be moving into our coffee house time. So if Neil, if you would stop the recording of this service, and I am going to end our live stream. So we're going to move into breakout rooms and have some time to talk to each other.